This forecast update, effective around 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, December 13th, 2013, and starts you off with a satellite loop image of an area of low pressure that we are now beginning to track. This area of low pressure forecast to move up to the mid-Atlantic and then over towards the northeast as a possible coastal storm for the northeast states, and then on its way to the Atlantic into a North Atlantic storm that looks to set up Ireland and the UK and over to Portugal with a massive swell system. If you're tuning in for that, we're going to do a separate update on that forecast, so be sure to check back in on that. But here's what's happening stateside. Starts you off with a 48-hour swell image, and out in the East Atlantic, we've got a predominant high pressure, a series of high pressures that's going to be setting up in the East Atlantic. This, in effect, is going to start a long, consistent easterly trade wind flow, and this is going to help develop an easterly swell. This image, again, is a 48-hour swell period coming up for Sunday, showing 10-second easterly ground swell developing. Seas east of the islands are forecast to develop into the 12-foot range over the next 72 hours. 72-hour swell forecast, you can see that the 10-second easterly ground swell now is starting to push past Puerto Rico in here, and on the south side of Hispaniola, you'll see that this will start to rotate towards the southeast as it gets closer into the Bahamas. When we take you there on the 96-hour swell forecast, you can see that this is Tuesday, some 10-second southeast ground swell now working its way into the Bahamas. Now, back behind this, again, is going to be a long-duration easterly wind flow regime set up in the central Atlantic. Now, this is going to get the Atlantic Ocean pushing this way for most of next week, so we should see some increasing surf all next week along the southeast U.S. coast. Going to take a look now at the latest model run. This was actually the midnight run last night of the GFS, and we're going to start you off on Tuesday now. We're still holding out hope that there's going to be some fun surf alert conditions at select locations along the southeast U.S. this Sunday when the winds shift to the southwest. That area of low pressure, again, is forecast to move up in here towards the Atlantic, and in this image, it's already on its way into the North Atlantic, showing 974 millibars with a wide area of storm force winds. Again, setting up Ireland and the UK and Portugal with possibly a massive swell. So we'll have to see how that pans out. And again, we're going to be doing a separate forecast on that. Taking you out to Wednesday, you can see another area of low pressure in here that's moving past or over the northeast in here. But down here in the Atlantic is what we want you to focus on as a consistent easterly trade wind flow begins to set up. This in here is east winds continuing, not from this weekend, what we just showed you, because what we just showed you here is seas are going to be increasing east of the islands 11 to 12 feet over the next 72 hours. So we've already got an easterly flow set up in here. We go back again out here on Wednesday, and you can see that easterly flow is still developed, still pushing the Atlantic Ocean off towards the U.S. When we get into 144, that easterly flow is still there, and now we're starting to pick up a little bit easterly flow into Florida. Winds will pick up just a little bit. When we get into Friday, notice how the pressure gradient starts to tighten up a little bit, and now we look like we're going to get a southerly suck-up swell in here for the Gulf of Mexico. So Panhandle folks, looks like there's a strong southerly suck-up in the forecast coming for you. We'll just have to continue to monitor this as the week progresses. When we get into Friday, look how over here in the Gulf of Mexico, the pressure gradient really starts to tighten up as the next winter storm starts to move into the Great Lakes region. Taking you over to Saturday, again, look at this big high pressure setting up over Bermuda. Now, I want you to think of this as like a car wheel. Okay, this is a tire, and it's turning in a clockwise fashion. Okay, this is going to take all of this and move the Atlantic Ocean from Africa over towards the United States. That's a wide fetch of easterly trade wind flow, and the Atlantic is fixing to come alive, guys. That's the latest that I've got for you for right now. Be sure to stay tuned for the next update.